Hello everybody, I'm Mackenzie Kaiser, and today I will be talking about the fact that I think college athletes should get paid for what they're doing. There's so many pros, there's a few cons, but there's a lot more pros than cons in why I think student athletes should be getting paid. So there are three main reasons why that student athletes should get paid. Reason number one being they support their family. So a lot of college athletes are 83% are low-income families. So say this person has been working all throughout high school to support their family. They've been having food on the table, bills paid, all of that because this student athlete has been working. So if they're able to get paid for being a student athlete, they'll be able to support their family. Reason number two, teaches them responsibility with money. It teaches them what they should and should not be doing with money. It could possibly show them how to do taxes depending on how much they're getting paid. It could help them understand the worth of money and the benefits there are to being responsible with money. They can learn how to save. They can learn how to do so many things if you know how to save money the right way. They could have good credit. They could have all these things if they were being paid to be taught how to save their money and how to use money in a responsible way. And one of the final pros that I see is that they are, like I said before, they are able to possibly stay at the school they're at. Because like I said, 83% of student athletes are from low-income homes, so they can't afford to stay at college. They can't budget it. Like, they have no wiggle room to be going away to college when their mom at home needs them to pay bills and help. If they're a student athlete getting paid, they'll be able to send home that money and possibly stay longer and be able to pay for the school with the money they're making. There also comes a few cons with paying student athletes. One could be financial irresponsibility. They could just carelessly spend their money and not save. Like, they could just not use it what it's meant to be for. They're not saving, they're not using it the right way. They could just overall just not responsible with money, and that is also a big issue. Second would have to be unfair pay. So when it comes to sports, depending on how much you play and how much time you get will be how much you get paid on your skill levels. Everything is all based off of you. So say you have one student who's making $10,000 a year and you have another student that's only making $6,000 because he doesn't play as much. That can cause jealousy, and that can lead to a lot of mixed emotions about, oh, am I good enough? And then that can lead to you self-doubting yourself and lead to other issues because no one's getting paid fairly. Because in sports, you do not get paid the same amount as the person next to you because you get paid based off your skill and how much you play and timing and all of that, which goes into a lot of it. Another con is that athletes may not go to class. A lot of student athletes really just want to play the sport they're playing. That's why they go to college, to play the sport that they're playing. And if they get paid for it, they may not want to go to class because they got the money and they got the sport that they love. And that can lead to a lot of why they don't pay them is because of the fact that they have the thought of, I'm not going to go to class because I'm already getting paid for what I do. I already love what I'm doing, and I don't need the school if I want to do something, including the sport, for the rest of my life. But on the other hand, there are still a lot more pros, and one of the pros could be NCAA makes $3 million per division. So they're making this money, and yes, they're helping, they end up helping kids get scholarships, they end up paying for things, it's used, but they have all this money that just sits and accumulates and becomes more and more until they find the right way to use it, which would be scholarships and helping pay for things and helping students and stuff like that. So they have the money to do it, there's no easy way of paying all the college athletes. Another thing that is also really good for paying college students is the coach. The coach is one of the highest paid staff at a college. Coaches get paid the most because they are paid to have a winning team. They are paid to do these things with these students to get them to the best spot that they could. So these coaches are with these student athletes every day, going to practices, meetings, teams dinners, like all these things they're doing together. The coaches see who's putting in the work, so they would end up being the one who decides who gets paid, how much they get paid. So it would help because the coaches would have the most input on who's getting paid and how much they're getting paid and what they're getting paid for. And finally, the final pro is that they won't have to get an additional job, because being a student athlete, you have full time, you have to commit to schoolwork, you have to make sure all your schoolwork is done. And then you have practices. Like for Keystone, our football team has 6 a.m. practices, they have luncheon, they have meetings, they have all these things throughout the day, where if they had an additional job, it's going to be harder to stay on top of everything you have to stay on top of, because you now have to worry about going to work and being on time, and then making sure your schoolwork is done, and then making sure you don't miss games or practices or meetings or anything, because then you're penalized if you miss those things. So it takes the stress away of having to go to another job and worry about something else. This is why I think student athletes should get paid. They are dedicated, they put their time and all their effort and all their work into being able to play. Because you do have to keep a certain GPA to play, they have to make sure their schoolwork is all done. They have to make sure that they are on top of everything so they're eligible to play. And that's just a lot for one student. So if they got paid, it would take away that burden, that stress of, do I have to get another job? Do I have to add more stress onto my plate, even though I already have all this stress? This is why I think student athletes should get paid.